The Gentlementor.
And it's like, no, just listen, absorb it, hear it, think about it. And then, do you need to react? If you do, then you can. But we're, the snapback culture, what do they call it? Where somebody says, somebody gives you a hot take, so you got to throw one right back. And it lowers the overall content, the richness of our conversation.
Yeah.
The things, the detail and the nuance that we no longer communicate. We've lost it all right there.
Yeah.
Because that's what's really missing is nuance in conversation. We don't hear it anymore.
Yeah. Well, and you don't get that. It's funny you were talking about that because I was having a conversation in the office yesterday, and somebody was talking about.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about what I was going to say. What did you say?
No. Stop it! I do that. I'm supposed to do that because if I don't think about it or write it down, I'll forget it by the time you're done talking.
So you were in the office.
I was in the office, and someone said talking about. So, and this is what I'm thinking is what you were talking about. About we filter our comments. We can no longer just speak what's on our mind because it becomes socially unacceptable just to say things that we're thinking. We have to be so careful. So they had got a new copy machine at the office and they were talking about putting paper in the machine. And somebody said, well, we only put white paper in there. And I was like, oh, whoa. You can't do that anymore. And of course I was joking, but the whole idea of having, and that's the thing is I feel like right now I'm kind of talking and saying, okay, can I say just masculine being man? And I say him, I say, and I'm tired of being that way already.
It's a tiptoey time.
Yeah, it is a tiptoey time. So, but again, I want to go back to say, like we were talking about, Josh, that a woman can be, very protective, can be independent, can be leader, can be a leader quality, can be assertive. So and that's what I'm saying. Well, those are just good qualities of human. What do we drill down to is really masculinity. So I don't know. I'm at a loss. It's interesting. It's not a beard. It's not how much wood you chop or how much flannel you wear. I don't know. I think it has to do with how you treat other human beings. And how you take your place. Yeah, and how you take your place as being sacrificial. And again, I look at the life of Jesus and how he says, you lay yourself down for others. You lay yourself down for your family, lay yourself down for your wife, and they come first. And I'm like, I think that's it. But again, not to say that anybody can't do that, because anybody can. I think that everybody has the ability to.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think anything's wrong with that outlook, but I think it goes wrong thinking that no one else can.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
every person I know. I can't think of anybody that I know who wouldn't want to have. If we take these three qualities we've kind of talked about here, that these are positive character traits, that what we really need to do is value other human beings and treat them with respect that they deserve, and be willing to put ourselves aside. I mean, I don't know anybody who thinks those are bad things, whether or not they're, specifically masculine or not. I don't know anybody who wouldn't at least verbally say that that's kind of the person they'd like to be.
Yeah.
Whether or not they do is, always the math. But I think you drill into a truth about humanity. Does there have to be something that is, specifically male? Outside of physiology, I mean, I think a lot of what we feel called to do, the things we feel in us as men and women, are similar things, but they're done maybe in different forums. In a sense that, if you say, well, and this will be really stereotypical, let me just go ahead and preface this. I'm going to say some things which may sound stereotypical, just to get the conversation moving. So you have a woman, and maybe her sacrifice is her care for her children and the nurturing for the children. I'm not saying she has to be a stay-at-home mom. She can have a career.
Sure.
Preamble in there. A man caring for his family, providing for them, keeping them safe. He is nurturing them. It's the same thing. It's just kind of on a different perspective on it, maybe, is the better way to say it, because it's not even a different emphasis. It's just, okay, could you call it a division of labor? Probably a little too specific. But to me, it's more that kind of an idea. It's not like, there's any of this that anybody can't do. You may be predisposed to do better at it in some areas of life. Like,
Yeah.
I, for instance, am not a great woodworker person as you are, but I can cook where we live. Oh, cooking, women's work there. Well, come over and eat my food. And you tell me if I can cook or not.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, go on home.
Don't eat it.
Yeah.
Or learn yourself.
Easy solution.
Learn yourself.
Yeah. But there are so many things like that we've just kind of got these sort of false ideas that this belongs in column A or column B when it's not really. And maybe it's kind of in appreciating other human beings and respecting them, we can kind of learn to appreciate ourselves and respect ourselves a little more and not be, for no other reason than to not be so scared.
Yeah.
That we have to be constantly on guard that I might say this one little thing a wrong way. And how can, that's the other part of the culture we live in is there's no way back out of that. If you make that mistake and they send you down the chute and you're off Twitter or wherever you go when they kick you out of the world, there's no way to come back. There's no redemptive policy. There's no way to make it up. Right. You can't do enough penance. It's just,
society is so good at judging actions and not motive. I mean, we see what you do, and that explains your motive immediately. When we're like, wait a minute, what's the motive behind this? Kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Josh. So let's go back. We were talking about. So let's talk about biology for a minute.
What?
Let's shift to biology. What is? Here we go. Research indicates that some behaviors considered masculine are biologically influenced. It's considered that some of those masculine behaviors are biologically influenced. What are biologically influenced masculine tendencies? Playing with army men?
I was just going to say
in the dirt.
Dirt, yeah. Playing with dirt.
Yeah. I mean, it feels very like boys will be boys. Like if we let boys do certain things or play with certain things that aren't what girls do or what girls emote, then maybe that could be the influence biologically, just because it's ingrained in boys to be a certain way and it's ingrained in girls to be a certain way.
Right.
Maybe that's it. That's what I think it is. Also,
it's a difficult read from that description. I mean, I could think of things, but as soon as I think of something, I can almost disqualify it immediately.
So
I wish they had included some specifics, such as.
No, I'm not gonna include specifics. So I think I had naturally we've already talked about my daughter. I grew up she grew up with her dad playing Barbies. Mm-hmm. Okay. Does it seem like a masculine thing? Not on the outside. Biologically, would I be wanting to play with Barbies? Probably not. I want to play in the dirt. I want to blow stuff up. I want to ride bikes and build ramps and jump things. Biologically, that's what I want to do. Set things on fire. Biologically, that's what I want to do. But masculine, I think of a good father is going to sit down and take up the interests of his kids and go, hey, you want to play Barbies? Okay, you put makeup on me? Fine. You put makeup on me.
Paint my toenails. Paint my nails.
Fine. I think that is a quality of masculinity. Moving beyond the idea of what a man should be into, again, lifting up someone else's needs above your own.
You're back in sacrificial mode.
I am.
It's all good. I like it. But I mean, again, it's setting yourself aside. That's having an ego that is either not fragile or not so threatened that it doesn't always have to be about you. That this thing I'm doing doesn't equal who I am. This is me having fun with my kid. And you may find it embarrassing and maybe it's something you wouldn't do, but it's not your kid. So again, head on back to wherever you like to eat.
Thank God there was no social media back then.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book called For the Love of Men. It's by Liz Plank. And she says a lot of great things. But one thing she says is that she interviewed a lot of men for the book. And she says, I don't want to get it wrong, but I believe she says, it is only masculinity that has to keep being proven. You never really have to prove a woman's femininity ever. She can do whatever she wants, and she's always feminine. But I don't know. It was something to that degree. It was something to. I'll say that.
So does she suggest a rationale for that? Is that self-imposed? Is that societal? Some combination of the two, or
I think it's more. I think it comes when I read it. It came across as more societally because she gives an example of like you get to have like been worked out, have jacked muscles, and then you order like a fruity beverage, meaning of an alcoholic beverage, like an apple martini,
right?
And then
You lose your man card, right?
Like no way more. I don't care what you just did. You did that one thing,
right?
And it's out.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the idea, if you think of anyone trying to prove themselves, anyone human, any background or gender who has some kind of chip on their shoulder and they think they have to prove something to the world, what kind of behavior comes out of that person? It is frequently over the top, more than it needs to be, because they have to continually prove themselves. They're constantly trying, and they kind of lose the sense of scale over the course of time, and so they do more and more ridiculous things. So that makes perfect sense to me. I was just curious if she had posited a source ideology.
So does Liz, when she mentions that, I love that whole thought idea, by the way, is she suggesting that society requires someone masculine to continue to prove that they are masculine, and that a woman, but because I don't, I don't know. You go into the whole macho thing again, where I feel like I have got to prove myself. But is that because of the pressure of society that, I had an apple martini and now I've got to
double down
fast. I've got to drive really fast with a really fast car in order to prove myself again. Is that because of the societal pressure, or is that because of the inert biological thing that's inside of us that makes it go, no, I've lost my masculinity. I got to do this. I'm curious.
That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I took it all as society.
Okay.
Because I think so. Also, I don't want to mince her words because she's not here, and I'm not an expert like she is.
Call her up, invite her.
Hey, Liz, you're welcome to come on the show, Liz. We'd love to have you and have
get her in here.
She would be a great guest. She is.
That'd be great.
Yeah. But that it's most I take it as society because I don't think people think something's wrong with them until someone says like, "Hey, why do you do that?" Or you can't do that. Because we just don't know. As kids, we just are. And then it's the play with the guns, play with this, don't do this, whatever. Then we kind of form ourselves into like, okay, this is who I am. But I'm also, I don't have kids. I am 30 years old. I'm aware of how long I've been on this earth. So I will say that as well. But that's just what I think coming from a child's perspective. Obviously, I don't know how to raise a child just yet, but
you were one, so you've had experience.
Being one, yeah. But being one, I think it's all
being one. Oh, you're still saying you're a child, which I am. I'm totally okay with that.
When I was 13, I thought I was gonna have it all together by like 25.
Of course.
So,
yeah.
Man, total lie. And oof. You don't want to believe it, but
right.
Knowing that everyone or majority of the people in your age range are going through the same thing mentally, it takes a lot of,
right. And I think that's, sorry, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
Go for it.
I want to go back to what Doug started out this conversation with when he talked about, there are some urges, whether those are biological or social pressure or whatever that we have. It's like, we want to help people, and especially those of the younger generation. How do we deal with those urges? How do we help you with that? How do we help you see what the consequences of that? Is that masculinity or is that machoism? Is it toxic? Is it helpful? I don't know. That's kind of going back to what you were saying. I didn't know if there was any help on that, going back to being a 13-year-old thinking you're going to have it all together. I thought I was going to have it all together at 18. And then, was I sadly surprised? I'm still waiting for that day to have it all together. So
I'm still waiting to feel like someday I'm going to have it all together. By the time I'm 173, I think I'm going to have it together.
I think I'll have it all together. I don't know. I think I don't know. I think we self-deprecate ourselves sometimes, thinking we're never going to make it to that point. And I think, and again, I'm going to go back to the sacrificial thing, the self-sacrifice thing. I think that's when we make it. We can make it when we help other people make it where they're going to be, or where they're supposed to be. When I can help you, I have a quote that's, if you like, it's my own quote. I should
Pina
write a book
coladas?
about it.
It's pina coladas? I've heard this one.
You had this? No, it's not about pina coladas. Not this one. That if it's lonely at the top, it's because you didn't take anyone with you. Because you've always heard the quote where it says, "Oh, leadership is lonely at the top." You know, you get up there and it's lonely at the top. Well, that's your fault, because you didn't take anyone with you. Yeah. You should have been taking someone with you, climbing that ladder, so that when you get up there and you finally get it all together, or you finally pass from this earth and go to the next place, they can be there to help live that legacy out, or do some good, or continue to do the good. You know, it's our fault. So I don't know. It comes back to the self. And again, I'm sorry, Doug, I get back on the self-sacrifice thing, but it's.
Will you stop it with the self-sacrifice?
I gotta stop.
Here's.
How about I let you talk now?
No, interrupt me.
No, I'm gonna shut up and let you talk.
The one thing that we. Okay, there's probably more than one thing. Here's a thing that we can Here's a thing we can be fairly certain of about all human beings. There's something in us that desires to leave behind some kind of legacy. Whether it's our gravestone, or that we did great works, or our awards or achievements, we're all really striving to kind of leave something behind that says we were here. There's no better place to leave that message than in the life of another human being, because it hopefully will not only affect them, they might even spread it on, and they tell two friends and they tell two friends, and shampoo commercials of the 80s. So I think that's kind of what we're trying to do here, and what we're really trying to put legs on is figure out ways to mentor younger people, to be the people who go and they go, oh, look at that girl. You can go, hey, dude, understand you have biological urges, but let's be a man about this, and let's treat other people with respect. To be the person who has that voice in someone else's life is really challenging. There's a point when I hit about 30. It's been a long time ago, but I suddenly found that teenagers and young people had no use for anything I had to say. And it's only now, as I enter this last stage of decrepitude, I'm admiring my walk like an Egyptian hand.
I like it. Go for it.
That I'm like, oh, they're starting to listen again. They're starting to go, oh yeah, Doug's weird and he's funny, but he actually, he's got something to say. He's actually, and my own kid. The day your own kid comes home and sits down by you on the couch and goes, you know what? I thought you were full of crap, but turns out you really knew what you were talking about. And it's like, hey, cool. So that, that's a payoff, and I'm sure everybody doesn't get it. But I think that's what we're really looking for is a way to put that message into somebody else, into another vessel, so that it makes another, trip around the sun and affects more people. If we don't have communication, we never get to have these conversations, obviously, and we can't work toward that if we can't have the conversations to begin with. So in a micro aspect, I'd like to feel like this little conversation is something, just because it gives us all something to reflect on. And I predict that in the next couple of days, it will probably be referenced by all of us. Oh, the other day I was talking to some guys on the internet.
Yeah.
From somewhere, I don't know, across the stratosphere and the 5Gs and everything. And we had this conversation, and this guy says, kind of like what you were saying, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago we were talking about, you loved that when we were talking about trying to be more engaged with other people rather than just talking to one another, and being able to have that two-way street conversation where you're passing information around and everybody has valuable stuff to share, man. There's nobody that has a monopoly on it, and there's nobody who has zero value. Everybody has something they can add.
Yeah.
So, it's our little version of the campfire. We're
exactly.
a billion years ago, we were cavemen sitting around beating logs around a fire and, going, why do they think we're toxic? I don't know, but we should probably stop grabbing them by the hair. That's a billion years ago, and here we are now with Zoom.
Here we are. Yep.
Yeah,
It's just
you can't really have too little amounts. You know, you can't really have too many conversations, um, because it's. I mean, learning how to or the process of like unlearning maybe your past or something you said or just the way of the world, or even if it's just about your masculinity, if it reaches the toxic or if it reaches the machoism, you know, it's a moment to moment thing. It's a process. It's not like, you know what, after this talk, even myself who's aware of what these things are, that means I'm never going to act the way ever again. It's which is untrue.
You're
Which is untrue.
cured.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, I don't know. It's there can't be too many of these, and it's even if it's repetitive, it's between the conversations. I think it's good just because it's just better to get it out one, and yeah, it's not gonna last just by.
I like that. I like that, Josh. Doug and I have often talk about how sometimes we rehash the same conversations that we have already had, and because it's like, Doug's always commenting, and here's a rerun of something we did 3 weeks ago, and it's like, I like going back. And I don't want to say that. I almost said circling back, and you shoot me if I say that again. But I feel like when you revisit those, how about that? When you revisit those, you learn something else, you learn something more, and it's like what we're trying to do now. It's like bring someone else into the conversation, because when you sit down with someone, no matter who you are in life, and you feel like, hey, I have something to learn from this person. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're 13 or if they're 113. I have something to learn from this conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, even if it's the same conversation again, we go deeper, we have another thought about it, or we explore something different. And I think I'm okay with a repetitive conversation. I feel more rehearsed anyway if we talk about the same thing.
Well, if you whip that around and bring it back,
Whip it around, baby. Go ahead.
What Josh was saying a little bit ago about from the book, the thing about masculinity, you have to prove yourself over and over again. I think of those repetitive conversations as kind of the undoing, or kind of the opposite, or the positive reinforcing.
Okay,
We're not out.
Okay.
We're not out reenacting and reproving some toxic form of masculinity. We are here encouraging one another and kind of proving out through our own rational and logic and our ability to kind of think through these things, whether these things have value to be a quote unquote non-toxic, variant of something that may or may not be masculine. Wow. Too many qualifiers in that, but you know what I mean. So that's kind of what we are doing. We are proving a different kind of masculinity, and we are proving it in a different way.
I'm starting to walk away from this conversation completely. I'm not walking away yet, but different outcome. Completely with a different outcome than I had thought of.
I had no idea where this was going, so I'm pleasingly surprised.
I am too. I like this. This is good. I think it deserves another conversation at some point in time. Certainly deserves a lot of thought. I'm going to be giving it some thought in the next few days as well, bouncing off a few people. And what are your thoughts on this? Tell us. How come you weren't there Tuesday night when you were?
You just get different perspectives.
Yeah.
Every time, and it's great if you like, hey, I felt that way too, and it's even great if they didn't feel that way, and hopefully you can have a conversation where it's like, this is why. Oh, this is what I think, and it can be more constructive.
Sure. Absolutely.
I think it's always better to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's just harder for people to have a conversation. I think it's harder, especially for maybe men, to have a conversation, because
for sure
we're not used to possibly being told certain things, and
we're afraid of exposing ourselves.
Yes.
In a good way.
In a good way. Yeah. Exposing our emotions and underlying feelings.
Our fallibility. What do they call it? Vulnerability. Being vulnerable.
Yeah. Vulnerable. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, or even having
that word.
Or even having like a controversial opinion where it's nothing like illegal controversial, but just like, I don't like this baseball team. I don't know, something like that.
I got you.
Or is that bad? Is that bad that I thought of a baseball team?
Oh, man.
Depends on which one you thought of.
Josh, you went toxic on us with the baseball, man. Sorry.
Hey,
that
like it
fact
happens.
that you had to use baseball immediately and it
it's-
wasn't synchronized swimming.
It all kind of roll.
I'm sorry.
Rolls
I'm sorry.
into that.
Take that out.
No.
Please.
It rolls into those same ideals about the things that men do and women do and what's manly and what's womanly. It's like this idea that men can't have real conversations about real things and talk about feelings and feel feelings and it's crazy. And we don't have to go back to I remember in growing up in the 80s and stuff, and with Oprah was ruled the airwaves, and men, everybody had to cry and everybody had to cry, and it finally got to the end of the 80s and women are just like, would you men stop crying? And I'm like, what? This is what I thought this was the thing. So yeah, it's totally cool to be who you are. And I think that's the main thing, masculine or feminine or however you want to label it or characterize it or whatever. Be comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
And try to try to help other people feel comfortable with who they are, even if it ain't comfortable for you. That's another way you can sacrifice yourself for other people.
I like it.
Is you don't need to be who I need you to be to make me comfortable. And that's hard for a lot of people. That's, that control mechanism in humanity swings strong that way. When someone's different, we need to make them like us. And man, do we got lots of strategies to try to make that happen. So, yeah.
Fun strategies.
Respect people and admire them.
Yes.
They're all individuals full of
Josh,
wonderment.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say one last thing where when I show someone that I respect myself, it feels so good. And the other person feels the same way. They weren't like, wait, why'd you say that? They're like, cool, we'll go do this thing, you stay home, or I'll have this drink, you don't have this drink, or I don't want to see that movie tonight, or something like that. Even just like small as that, just knowing that you just open up that bit to yourself, open up that bit about yourself.
Right.
I don't know. It could speak volumes to some people, or even
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does when you respect yourself, and then I can step back and respect that. Hopefully,
there's a level of stability in being comfortable in your own skin that it speaks to people. It makes people feel comfortable because they know you're not playing. They don't feel like they have to pretend. So
which takes us back around to Harry Styles.
Real sees real. It's all about Harry.
It's all about Harry. Yeah, let's
plug your podcast, man.
Oh, okay. So I host a podcast. It's called Boys Will Be Human, and it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, I believe Stitcher. You can always find it on one of those two.
Okay.
On one of those first two, Apple and Spotify. And we just talk about the idea of toxic masculinity and how we're raised. We try and bring up experiences from our past if they feel so comfortable. I say to the guests beforehand, like, you can share as much or as little as you want. The topic, if there is a topic, is shared beforehand. So we're at I'm also not a prosecutor, so I'm not going to try and get an answer out of you. I'm trying to get you to reveal something you might not want to say. Just okay, if that's how you feel, cool. I just think it's great to see men communicating and having emotional conversations. It might not it might not hit you in the face like, oh, men do this, but I think if you just see it and you're more aware of it, then it becomes more normal, where you don't have to think about it and you have those conversations with other men or with yourself, or express how you feel to any female identifying people in the world that you don't want to seem weak to because you have feelings, or I don't know, one of those. All of them. All of those, not one of those.
Those are all different episodes.
So we got Boys Will Be Human podcast. Is there any other way people can connect with you? Instagram handle or anything like that?
Twitters, anything like that?
You can. We obviously listen to the podcast, and we have an Instagram that's the same. It's at Boys Will Be Human.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, Josh, again, thanks for popping in, man. Appreciate it. And
man, it's been a blast.
Yeah, we'll probably get a couple of episodes out of this, and if you want to jump in again sometime, please, we'd love to have you. It'd be fun.
No worries. Yeah, this was a lot. Thank you for having me, Doug and Mike. I really appreciate it.
No, so we appreciate you doing it, man.
Yeah. So you said you were kind of nervous at the beginning. Do you feel like that kind of lifted? Did we help feel comfortable, or did you?
It was lifted.
Okay.
Like he's going to answer that honestly. These guys are serial killers. I'm sure of it.
They're stalking me.
The Gentlementor.